Good, yes, very good. She rests from her scribbling, only to make another adjustment to her scope. I can now see two separate patterns of ascents, where he ebbs, the other flows, as if it's as if the awakened soul fills the spaces that he leaves empty. You love it, Charlie? That's awesome. She prompts you with a circling of her wrist, quill still in hand. Go on. Izmir, what exactly are you taking from him? Nigh more than I'm given. You should ask with I did that old man of his. How's the last time he laid a hand on us? I break it in 3 places. Alet's head jerks to the side. That wasn't your decision, and it's never been your decision. I was awakening, but now I'm stuck with you. And damned if I let you nineing drag us both through the scupper. Ack, very good. She lowers her scope and consults her notes. I think I finally got something we can work with. I've tracked Izilmir's essence through the exchange. She had a particularly high density index during the most heated portions of their argument, and her essence seems to localize most clearly in the lower portion of the subject's left rib cage. Like Irish-ish? Ish? That's right around the spleen, which of course means that she's triggered by black bile. No doubt the subject's characteristic melancholy is to blame. Alet blinks back at you, and in the midst of his perturbation, you're not quite sure who's looking out of his eyes. That's utter horseshit. Black bile, is it? They've certainly spat their share. Kinda studies a lot dubiously. It's a simpler explanation than I expected, all things considered. It sounds Irish-ish? Yeah. Very, very ish. She glares at him. Yes, never mind my years of training. I suppose you have a better explanation. You're right that removing Alet's spleen should cure him? What? Oh god, no. Let's not remove his spleen. Let's not do that. You're close. I think Izilmir's appearance are related to potential sources of trouble for Aleph. Belasij carefully scratches her jaw, her gaze darting between you and Aleph. I suppose that could be true. She jots another note. I'll have to check this against other research. He removes the copper bands. Well and good for you, but what does this mean for me? Belasij frowns at her notes, tapping her cheek with a quill and making a grand show of concentration. However, you catch her stealing a glance at you over the pages. It seems that Izilmir steps in when she determines that you are in danger. It's not clear yet whether this is a help or a hindrance. From my position, I'd say it's pretty clearly a hindrance. I've got a lot to process. Regardless, thank you for your help. He does not look at Belasij. She sets her note on her desk and returns to her scope. Well, I hope this has been as useful to you as it has been to me. I finally have materials worth publishing. You'll be the toast of Rivua. Fentre Alot. His grimace melts into a crooked smile. Aye, advancing the right-wise principles of animancy. Just what you've always wanted. Oh, it's Izilmir. Aye, advancing the right-wise principles of animancy. Just what you've always wanted. Again, very ish. As you turn to leave, you catch a darting movement out of the corner of your eye. Belasij is humming to herself, still occupied with her scope, but Aleph is holding her notes. He's just about to tuck them into his cloak when he catches you watching. He holds the fingers to his lips, his eyes wide and imploring. Please, I don't want my personal information published like this, especially not after her nonsense. That would be rude to just, like, take the notes away from her. But I mean, Aloth is a companion. Maybe I should side with him. Okay, fair enough, but do it quietly. He hides the papers in his cloak. Not to worry. We'll see to this on our own. Whew, okay.
Hey there.
Why do you have... Oh, that's why there was a thing. You have convinced Solmar the Shackler to continue his journey. Finish in 10 days. No, it's not that. I just received a pop-up to tell me that there was nothing new to report. Well, gee, thanks. Oh, Modred. In a corner of Modred's labs rests a large, weathered trunk. It seems likely to contain something important, if only by virtue of its size. Examine the trunk more closely. Nothing grabs your attention except for the large padlock on the front. Whatever this Animancer keeps in here, it does not want anyone else to have or see. Okay, we'll leave it alone for now.
Yeah?
Keeping an eye out.
Unexpected results. The canine host was listless and unresponsive, but it was determined that this was simply the implanted feline soul. Yarn resulted in vigorous stimulation. Okay, let's talk to him. An Animancer scribbles feverishly on a parchment scroll while his free hand dances through the air, counting off unseen objects. His lips move in silent discourse. As your shadow falls over his scroll, he looks at you with mingled perplexity and irritation.
How do you do?
Can I help you? He forces a polite smile. Has anything unusual been happening around here? You must be joking. This is the sanitarium. Nothing is usual down here. He pauses. Although, now that I think of it, the patient seems more agitated lately. But they're Caedmon Azo's responsibility, not mine. Modred nods, taking a deep breath. Then, if there's nothing else, what are you working on? My area of focus is white. More specifically, how to cure them. What's a white? An Oloborn would receive a transplanted animal soul during infancy. One of Animancy's early efforts to cure the legacy, if not a successful one. He removes his spectacles and wipes his brow. They show signs of developmental abnormalities throughout their childhood, but when they reach adolescence, they become aggressive, feral, but still victims in need of care. Transplanting animal souls into children seems like an odd solution. We, Animancers, were trying to do something about the crisis, better than letting it swallow a generation of children. He stares at a fixed point on the far wall, and despite the controversy, it only went so far because at first it seemed to work. People called it the salvation. Children that had never been responsive to any kind of stimuli suddenly seemed aware of their surroundings, of their families. He takes a slow breath. The complications don't begin until puberty, but that's when the incompatibilities between body and soul take shape. Children become violent, ravenous. But we paid dearly for our mistake, I promise you. Angry mobs hunted down Animancers and burned down their homes, with them still inside, often as not. Ugh. People took to calling it the cruel salvation, and many still loathe us for it. But we wanted to stop the legacy as much as anyone. The public begged for our help, and we did the best we could. I still don't know if that absolves us. Why do you study whites? He huffs. What kind of question is that? Just think of all the families that could be healed, the lives that could be restored. What could be more important? His face has reddened, and he turns away from you for a moment. He shakes his head. Animancy has an answer here. I know it. It's simply a matter of working it out. I see. Does the name Helig mean anything to you? Modred starts. Helig? He is, a colleague of mine. He was primarily a necromancer, but he was involved in animancy too. He worked at a sanitarium for several years. I dare say everyone here has heard of him. He clears his throat. He left his post recently. I believe he was seeking new opportunities in the Valiant Republics. He leans forward. The advances they're making in animancy really are quite remarkable. Surely you've heard. He coughs again. Perhaps you haven't. I've heard it differently. No, do you know a woman named Rowena? No, I don't. No, I don't get out of the sanitarium much. About Elig, Modred smoothed his robe. As I said, he no longer works here. I've heard it differently. He slides his spectacles down on his nose. Just what are you insinuating? If this is your idea of a joke, I assure you it's in very poor taste. So you didn't sink a blade into his chest and dump him in the catacombs. He'd be relieved to hear it. Modred pales. How could... He sighs and runs a hand over his hair. Very well. Yes, I killed him. I killed that beast because nobody else had the spine for it. He was a madman. Years of perverse experiments, twisting healthy souls, torturing damaged souls, and for what? He flayed the essence of Glenfatton's indigence for his amusement. He waves down the hall. If the public had known half of his deeds, they'd have razed this place to the ground. He jabs his fingers on the desk. He used the sanitarium to disguise his own sick proclivities. He brought shame on all of us and put the entire discipline at risk. I regret nothing. He calms down and sizes you up. Anyway, now you know the whole grisly story. Elig said you stole a grimoire from him. Modred brow furrows. His grimoire? What's that madman been telling you? I'm not in the mood for games, Modred. End it over. Modred spread his hands. I'm not a wizard, and I want nothing to do with this detestable research. What use would I have for it? If I know Elig, this is his idea of a joke. Probably not one of you, or I would appreciate. If anything I've told you about him has sunk in, I beg you, return to the catacombs and slay him once and for all. That foul man would cause misery and pain as long as he's around. He has something I need. I don't know what he's promised you, but he's already lied to you about the grimoire. I don't have it. If what I've told you about that evil, deceitful man hasn't swayed you, I don't know what else to say. He turns back to his paper. Trust him at your own perils. Okay. Save.
I shall be quiet as a calm sea.
Unlock the trunk.
Which is not very.
You take the key you acquired from Elig and place it in the lock. It fits perfectly and turns with a solid clunk. The trunk holds no grimoire or treasure. Instead, you find yourself staring into the feral gaze and toothy maw of a twisted, monstrous creature. Its humanoid form has been overwhelmed by bony angles and terrible claws. Oh God! With a start, you recognize the vague shape of a young girl beneath the elongated, malformed bones and grayish skin. It growls and leaps from the trunk, not toward you, but towards Modred. Modred has no time to scream before his throat is torn out. Oh shit!
Hey there.
On the hunt.
Oh well. Ripley. Notes from Azo. Ripley. I require more copper tubing for my next experiment. Do not requisition it from the sanitarium's store. I don't have the time to deal with the head warden's inevitable questions.
Consider it done. There. What did I tell you?
North Ward patient record. Batixa the Pale Lady. Subject is female, mid-40s, awakened to a past life as a serial murderer, which now frequently emerges as the soul's dominant personality. Subject vacillates between violence and severe depression, resulting from guilt of past deed. Weak candidate for present research. That could have gone way better. Northward patient record Graham. Subject is male, approximately early 30s. Powers of speech absent, presumably as a result of the over-fragmentation of his soul. As such, he is the ideal subject for prison research. However, experiments has caused severe pain and induced panic, and have had to enlist the aid of the guards in transporting him for more recent procedures. Record Edelman, the Midnight Man. Subject is male, mid-20s, displays acute dissociation and paranoid delusional tendencies, causing anger and extreme violence. Dangers of working with the subject precludes possibility of further use in prison research. And Ushgrim. Subject is a male, approximately 17 years of age, admitted for episodes of catatonia followed by occasional violent outbursts. Initial analysis of soul revealed severe fragmentation and essence deficiencies. Said deficiency all but eliminates the possibility of utilizing the subject in present research.
Yeah?
We need to talk to him. Let's talk to Ripley.
Gods keep you.
A young Orlan woman traces her fingers on the spine of the book in front of her. Row by row, her motions quick and skittish, like a bird's. She does not notice you until you are nearly upon her. Oh my! You startle me! Are you supposed to be in here? What do you do here? I mostly help Master Azo set up and clean his equipment. I also keep his office organized since he's too busy to do it himself. If there's nothing else, I need to get back to work. Farewell.
What?
Yeah?
Nice and quiet.
Okay. We'll have to go back to the guy upstairs. Let's take a look here, though. The edges of the cage are dented and scored with claw marks. Ugh. Oh, we don't have the key to get in there. Let's go back up. Let's go back up and let's talk to the headmaster.
Keeping an eye out.
What up, bro?
Good day, stranger.
Have you learned anything of interest? I found records that Azo may be running some questionable experiments. Experiments? Gaimon Azo is in charge of patient welfare now. He's not authorized to run any more experiments. I am disappointed in Caedmon. I had hoped he would be the one to guide your inquiry. He'll be in his office or in the patient wards. I'm granting you immediate access so you can find him. No doubt you will wish to speak to him further on this matter. I, for one, am curious as to what he might have to say. Thread carefully in the wards. There are a few dangerous cases. I would ask also that you do your best not to agitate the patients. They have enough troubles as it is. Oh, but we will. So the lead and key dude is in here, supposedly.
On the hunt.
The head warden says you can go in. Be careful in there. Let's go, guys. Let's do it. Flesh construct? Frail? A curved spine twists this woman's posture forward, her greasy hair draped over her large eyes like vines. She smiles at you. You must be visiting someone. Then, noting your appearance, she adds, a friendly visit, I hope. What do you know about this Animancer Azo, or Azo? Oh, I like him very much. Many Animancers could care less about their patients. Look at us, like vermin for their experiments. But Master Azo treats us like humans, even the very sick. You can tell he does this to help people. He's helped me understand a great deal about myself, and I know he's done the same for others. It's too bad what they did to him. He hides it well, but I know he's still affected by it. What happened? Frail's eyes dart back and forth, and her voice lowers to just above a whisper.
They don't like to talk about it, but there was an accident. He was said to be one of the brightest in Deerwood. That was his reputation here, and that was what brought me to seek treatment. People say it was his ego that drove him to try and solve the legacy, but that's hogwash. Even if he was a bit of a showman, he loves his homeland. He thought he could help. He wasn't one to speak of his work, suspected his colleagues might have tried to steal it, but he told me once that he had figured out a way to create a soul. Not a soul exactly, mind you. How did he put it? A proxy, I think he called it. Had some machine that drew energy out of the very ether. Can you imagine? The point is, it was going to help with the legacy. It was going to make Hollowborn into something easier to love and care for.
Manic Sig, thank you so much for the host. Do appreciate it. Super kind of you. God knows that's something we need. Do you know what they call those empty little babies in Under's gifts? No, tell me. They call them buyus. Because so many of them are found floating face down in the water. These are mad times. Anyway, Master Azo had scheduled a public demonstration of his work in Copperlane. He was so excited. And then the next day he was locked in his office, turning away visitors, I heard. And he stopped seeing patients. I don't know exactly what happened and I don't have the heart to ask him, but I'm glad they're letting him treat people again. Any of the patients have been acting unusually? Well, there's Batixa, who relives a murder she committed more than 5 lifetimes ago. Edelman, who they say also has half a soul and who was found collecting the faces of others because he believed his own to be a false one. Graham, he speaks in a language no one understands and wails at night sometimes. Different from the normal behavior, I mean. Well, yes, I suppose, but nothing they didn't volunteer for. Master Azo let us know that a number of patients in the North Ward had volunteered for a new therapy and would be escorted to his laboratory to receive treatment. The North Ward is our most troubled cases. I'm glad some of them have chosen to help. It seems to me it's gotten quieter over there since it started. There is? How hot is it for you, man? It's Graham. I see them taking in the most. He struggles, but he always was a bit of a wild one. Would I be able to visit the North Ward? They like to keep them separate. I don't know that I've ever seen the guards allow a visitor, just Master Azo. You might ask him. He's very sympathetic. Do you know where I might find Azo? I think I've seen him around today. Have you checked the laboratory? It shares a wall with his office. It's been spending most of his time there lately. Why are you in here? Behind her hair, her cheeks flush. I don't want to say. You'll think less of me. When you blush, it brings the color out of your eyes. Her blush deepens as she ducks her head forward to bury her face deeper beneath her hair. These last few years haven't been kind to me. They haven't been kind to anyone, really. I try not to think of it as personal. I lost my husband and both boys in the Saints' War. My daughter, the legacy took her before she was ever mine. I made do. What else can you do? I moved into a tiny place in Under's Gift, got my mending clothes on, and on the kindness of strangers when I had to, but I was surviving and the gods were watching over me. I could live with that. Then one day this noble woman comes in, wants this fancy gown fixed. Gorgeous thing, shade of blue I've never seen before. Only I looked at it and it reminded me of something. I had what they call an awakening. I remembered being a noble woman myself in another life. People doting over me. Men doting over me. Me. The best food, the most beautiful home, all the things you'd never dare to dream of. They were mine. It was poison knowing that. All those things I had that I'll never have in this life. It did something to me. My food started to taste rotten. The walls in my little room seemed to close in around me. I stopped being able to sleep in my own bed. 90 degrees? How much is that in Celsius? I don't even know. So I came here. It was that or break into an estate and start ordering servants around. It seems like such a silly thing to worry about. You don't have to tell me, but I can't get past it, and I start to wonder, did the gods choose this life for me? And if so, what terrible thing must have I done to deserve it? Nobody deserves to go through what you've gone through. I hope not. I can't even imagine the monster who deserves what half the patients here go through every day.
Yeah?
Laying low.
Okay. Man, that place is creepy as hell. Super creepy. Crooked chalk tally marks cover the surface of this table. There's a lot of flesh construct. It's kind of weird. Before we go down, because that's probably where he is, let's go up. There's a door here. Bro. Keep your distance. White's in that cell back there. We've had incidents when people got close. Really? I want to test this out, guys. I'm going to test this out for science. Ah. Game ruined, guys. My immersion. Gone. Just because of that one thing. Oh, I need a special key to get in there. Dude, how huge is this place, man? Holy shit! It's so big!
Oh my.
It's kind of crazy. Nothing in there. I'm kind of hoping for like a secret thing in one of those cells, you know?
And what do we have here?
Speaking of secrets, some drugs. That's fine. Oh, I can't enter this. That's right. I was forgetting. Okay. So we can't enter this either. So we can't enter this though. So let's do that. Let's see what's down there.
White flame and
I mean, should he actually be drinking booze? I mean, think about it. Like, maybe it's a guard's stash. Like, you know, maybe it has nothing to do. It doesn't. That was kind of pointless, this whole room. Fine then, let's go here. Like, think about it. Like, maybe they shouldn't be drinking beer. Man, and this continues on, too. And it's crazy. There's like a room here, another room there. So many rooms. This looks more like a freaking, you know, like a prison than it does an hospital. Just saying. Oh, there he is.
This calls for a subtle touch. There. What did I tell you?
Ravenwing. One-handed mace. 4 accuracy when attacking same target as an ally. 25% damage when attacking same target as an ally. 45% damage plus 4 accuracy. Bruh. That's pretty cool. Legend tells of a druid, wise and powerful, who traveled accompanied by a flock of ravens. In battle, the druid would assail his enemies with his mace, while the ravens descended into a chaotic swarm, distracting and flanking his foes. Years of coordinated attack and the druid's lingering magic are said to have gifted his mace with an enchantment that lends to the wielder similar gifts. The mace is finely wrought and lightweight, making it maneuverable. if not very resistant against direct attack. Against a distracted opponent, however, a single blow often proves quite sufficient. Man, it has a very high damage.